Welcome to Behind the Glass Mixing Live Worship. My name is David Glenn, and I've been blessed to mix multiple multi-platinum records from artists like Redimidos, Dr. Toomey, Blanca, Jeremy Rosado, and many more. I'm pumped to bring you this exclusive behind-the-scenes course for free right here on YouTube. In this series, we're diving deep into mixing live worship from the raw tracks to a polished, powerful mix that translates well in churches, streaming platforms, and beyond. All of the videos from the course will be made available here on the channel, and then if you want to get your hands on the Multitracks to follow along, my exact mix template available for most modern DAWs, my custom drum samples, multiple more mix breakdowns like the one you're about to watch, and on and on. I'll post a link in the description where you can get instant access to all of that, as well as some free guides to help steer you in the right direction with your mixing journey. Lastly, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video in this free series. With that, let's dive in and start mixing. All right, in the last video, we took a look at drum timing correction. We showed you a couple of different ways to get that job done. And anytime you move the drums, anyone who played to those original drums, chances are those are going to be off time as well. And so with the bass, I'm going to do elastic audio the same way that we did up here. There's a couple of things we got to look out for with the bass and make sure we get good analysis markers. I didn't spend much time with analysis markers on drums because Pro Tools typically does such a good job putting them in the right places. Except maybe with overheads. But with bass, this will be the same process, except we're going to look at those analysis markers and make sure everything is accounted for. And then with the rest of the music, the guitars, the keys, the vocals, it really is not, for me, I don't go through with elastic audio for those, especially like distorted guitars, driven guitars. It's practically pointless. It just is not effective. What I do for those is I take and I go section by section, and I may just nudge whole phrases or whole sections of the part and slide them back in time so they're not rushing, but it's not quite as detailed of a process for those. Vocals as well. You could use Melodyne, you can use different tools to align the vocal, but for me it really is just going phrase by phrase and kind of sliding whole words or phrases to get them in time, whereas here we're using elastic audio. So bass, first thing is I want to get a rough mix. If you don't pull the bass gain up, the Pro Tools algorithm that we're going to choose here, I guess let's go ahead and show you an example. If I come in here before pulling the gain up and I choose monophonic, which is what we're going to use for the bass, we've got one note at a time. It's not like a guitar or anything where you have multiple notes happening. We're going to go to our analysis markers. If I zoom in, I've got whole sections here where, here's a great example. Listen to this out here. If I solo the bass right here, dun, 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 dun. That bass is playing percussive part. It's following the rhythm, but there's no analysis markers here. That means that when I go to switch over to warp markers, there's none. So I would have to add them manually. And so a key part of doing this, especially when we start out with that -18 gain staging, is let's go ahead and do the rough mix and get the bass sounding good up against the kick drum, get a volume, and then that increased volume will allow Pro Tools to better recognize those transients and give us proper analysis and warp markers. Somewhere in there is in the ballpark, and then now I'm going to actually Option Shift 3, and I'm going to commit. I consolidated that file, and I committed the gain for it, boosted it 14 dB, or you can right-click and then go to your clip gain and render, and that's going to render that clip gain. So now Pro Tools is looking at that file with the new gain structure. And so come over here to monophonic. It's going to do its thing, and then if we go out here to analysis markers, what is it, somewhere out here, now you'll see we've got clearly defined analysis markers throughout the track, where before, so now we've got one for each and every one of those hits. So now we're in the ballpark and we can get the job done. So I like to take the kick and the bass, put them up next to each other. I will have the whole drum kit. So we got the whole drum kit soloed, but then I'm really paying attention to that bass. And so the same thing's going to be true here. Let's find where we actually get some. So that bass comes in right away. So I'm going to put a warp marker out here. We're going to set our boundaries. Actually, this was the analysis markers, and I just want to make sure that I have what I need. You can see here, that's probably more than I need. Yeah, so that's not necessary, so I can come into the analysis markers if you wanted to, and you can go through and delete them to make sure that these don't get in the way when you go to do your timing correction. Or you can just go ahead and do your timing correction. See, like this out here, that's probably one hit. And you can see it's thinking there's a bunch of transients there that are not there. So you can go through if you wanted to and clean all these up from the very beginning, or you can just take your shot at quantizing it and hope that it doesn't look to one of those markers. I say clean up the analysis markers or select everything. And what's the keyboard shortcut for that? It's Option 5 on Mac. You can come here and you can actually reduce the event sensitivity. And so here, let's look like this. These hits all in here are not necessary. These in here are not necessary. So if we kind of zoom out and look at these, that one at the end is not necessary. We can kind of select the whole thing. So triple click with the selector tool. I use a smart tool, but that selector tool. And then just take down the event sensitivity until, so here's 100%. Maybe even better to use the arrows. So here's 100%, and just use the arrows until those are, it's not following the arrows the way it did with the mouse. That's so weird. Pro Tools with its finicky. Yeah, look at that. I click with the mouse and they're gone at like 98%. Okay, so 98%, they're gone. 99%, these in here are gone. So there we go. Just by bringing it down to 99%, we got rid of those unnecessary analysis markers, which is a big deal. Let's come out here and see. Those all look like they're necessary. Now, it did get rid of some in here that might be, let's listen to this. Yeah, it got rid of some of the ones that we want. That's 98%. Let's go to 99. Just a little click. Yeah, there we go. So 99%, I think, is the magic number. Look at that. They're right back again. So Pro Tools, it can be finicky. 99, 98, probably safe bet. And then you're going to have some like that you're going to have to go in and clear out. If that doesn't make sense, it will here in a second. But there, we'll go delete those. These that are like quick together, we can go through and just delete those. And you can be in slip mode, would be better for that. And then kind of zoom out and you can see where they're, and then I don't know, is that the transient or is that the transient? I think the other one is. Okay, and by zooming out, you can really tell. See, you get these that are close together like that. Chances are those are not necessary. And then over here, these are not necessary. And the reason why I switched to slip mode is so I don't have to hold control on PC, command on Mac to select when I've got slip or grid mode. In grid mode, it's going to snap to the grid. Slip mode is going to let you move your mouse freely, and that's what we want. Is we want to be able to delete all those that are kind of in between, and so we can see these we don't need. And let me play it for you so you can tell. Let's get rid of. That's one individual note. It's not 7 or 8 like it had all these right in here, 4 or 5. We don't need that. Those analysis markers. So come out here again, just kind of get rid of some of these. It's worth it to take this, a couple of minutes to go through the whole song and to do this, because otherwise when you go to quantize, your quantize is going to be super inaccurate. Yeah, you can hear like boom, the bass kind of resonates up, and so Pro Tools, the analysis markers was saying, oh, that's another transient, and it's definitely not. So coming out through here, again, we can find them a little easier when we go out. Yeah, so that next one's not even till there. So a couple of them here. That one can go. And we're moving on. I think you get the point. So we do that for the whole song. We're only going to mess with this first section. But now that was the analysis markers. And actually, in order to actually move something, we got to go to the warp view, and that's where analysis markers, they're directly related to your warp markers, but these are the ones that you're going to click and be able to drag. And so we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to set our boundaries out here. So add a warp marker before I edit anything. I'm going to find this section. What do I want to go to? We'll go to where we did for the drums. And so I'm going to put another one right there. And then now that's my end boundary and my starting boundary. And now everything in between here, I can go ahead and quantize and not fear that anything past that boundary marker is going to get touched. So here we go. We've got the bass, and we're going to go ahead and quantize it. Let's see how it works. I'm going to go 16th note. Now that depends. Is the bass doing any 16th notes? In this particular section, I could probably get away with doing just 8th notes, and it'll lock the bass in. But on that section out there where we had some 16th notes, then that we certainly want to pay attention to that. But I'm going to do the same settings, 97 and 3. We're going to strength of 97%, exclude within 3%. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit here just to kind of keep an eye on what is it doing. I'm going to back off the grid to our 8th notes, and we're going to hit apply. Look at that. Snapped it beautifully, and we don't have to worry about those pesky analysis markers causing warbling or anything weird because we got rid of them. They're not, the quantization is not even looking at those markers. So let's take a listen and let's hear the bass just up against a kick drum, or excuse me, up against a click. That one felt a little weird, but it looks like it might be okay. Feels like a little flam at the end. Probably not going to feel that in the mix. Yeah. Here's a good example of something you got to look out for. Even though there was not an event marker here on that slide, it felt great, it looked good, but listen for this guy. That you want to make sure that feels good as well. The riding up the neck, sliding to the next note. You want to make sure that that stuff is not out of time either. And so just really the best way to think about drum editing, time editing for any instrument is how does it feel in the mix with the balance of the other things? Is it distracting? If it is, let's fix that distraction. With that, moving your body, if you feel it it gets weird, like you don't feel right when that slides up to the next note, then we can adjust it. And if we wanted to, we can come in here. Let's say we wanted to adjust that. I could right click, add a warp marker, and then now I could take that and slide it. Let's try that. That'll sound really weird. Okay, so we slowed it down. It doesn't sound good, but if we needed to, we could right click, add a warp marker, and get the job done. Sounds great to me. It sounds fine. And I like it. Let's put the drums in. Cool. And so that bass is done, but without that quantization, it would have been messy. So we did a great job here. That's obviously just a quick introduction to bass editing, but making sure you get your analysis markers cleaned up. Maybe in Logic or another DAW, maybe it's got a better algorithm. I'm not sure, but I'm a Pro Tools guy through and through, and so I wanted to show you at least a couple techniques for editing the drums and the bass. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Here's one more thing. Just like we talked about with the drums, if your bass is rushing, it can create that anxiety. With the bass, sometimes this is more for like funk or singer-songwriter, depending upon the genre, I may actually come in here and move the bass just behind the kick drum. So see that timing? It's just behind it so that the attack of the kick wins the low end battle and the bass sits just behind it. I'm talking like barely audible. And that can be a cool way to lock the kick and bass together. You get the low end burst from the kick from that initial hit. But that takes quite a long time and it's not for everybody. So maybe that's something you experiment with and try for yourself. But that's it for the bass, making sure that we get that tight with the kick. And we're moving on in the next video. I don't know that we're going to go through. I'm not going to show you sliding guitars and things like that. And some of these were even just tracks from multitracks.com, so we won't have any editing to do on that. But when we get to the vocal, if we feel like she's out of time, we may spend some time coming in and selecting words and phrases and slightly moving them back in time. But we'll do that in another video. So moving on, what do we got next for you guys? Let me check my notes and make sure I didn't miss any points that I wanted to share. Oh, let me share this. When possible, let's overdub the bass. Let's go in the studio or have the bassist in his home studio re-record the bass from live the night. There's so many mistakes and things that he did in this live performance that could be fixed just by re-recording it and being able to sit down and go section by section and really perfect the parts. So I'm a huge fan of overdubbing the bass anytime that's possible. In this case, this is their live stream, and we were creating this mix for a live stream template. They're all volunteers, and so it's not a situation where we're really trying to produce the sound. But if you can control that process at your church, whether you're the worship leader or the technical director, absolutely overdub the bass, the guitars, anything else, so you can control that performance and make sure that the arrangement is perfect. So with that, we're going to move on. In the next video, I'm going to show you the vocal editing process, where we're going to take and isolate the vocals, give them a little bit less cymbal bleed before doing our timing and pitch corrections using Melodyne and then even auto-tune. So I'll see you in that next video.